Hey, thanks for stopping by today. Have you ever been in a situation where you've checked your mirror alignment, that's all good, and you're still getting inconsistent cuts depending on where you are on your bed? That's what we're going to talk about today. I noticed when I was checking I do routine maintenance on this machine, checked my mirror alignment, that was all good, but I also noticed that the lower left-hand corner of my honeycomb was slightly lower than the rest of my bed. What does that mean? Well, what that means is if I have a big sheet of material and I'm cutting out a lot of product, my focus is going to change in that lower left-hand corner. And in some cases, it may make the difference between me not being cutting materials out all the way versus having to redo them or to go back and cut them a second time. So I'm going to show you how to check that today. One thing you've got to make sure of is that your honeycomb or your slat bed in your laser is parallel with your gantry. For those of you that don't know what a gantry is, that's this main bar that goes across the back of your bed. If your honeycomb is not parallel with your nose cone of your laser, it will change focus. And I see this quite often in some of the forums. Matter of fact, when I got this machine, it was the right-hand side of the bed was out by about 1 millimeter. And so this is something that you should routinely check. Same time that you're checking your alignment, you're doing your cleaning. If you're setting heavy things on your slats or your honeycomb, there's a possibility that that bed could change. They're not fixed in place. They're adjustable. At least the ones on the Thunder lasers are adjustable. And I love that because that way you can always ensure that you have a true parallel situation going on your laser. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and verify what's going on with the honeycomb in. And then we're going to take the honeycomb out and do that process again. And the reason why we do that is I want to make sure that maybe the honeycomb's not tweaked or that we don't have a piece of material under there that's generating a problem. And the bed is fine, it's just that the honeycomb is not laying flat. And so we've got to do that first just to make sure that it truly is that we need to adjust the bed a little bit and it's not just a piece of equipment, or excuse me, a piece of material that's tweaking the honeycomb. So we're going to get into this. Let's go check it out. Before we get started on checking this out, here are the tools that we're going to need for today. Not too much. You should have got an Allen wrench kit that's in your toolbox. It came with your laser. We're going to need that. We're also going to need just a simple piece of wood that's nice and flat and true. This is 1/4 inch Baltic birch. You want to make sure that it's nice and flat. And a small rubber mallet or a small hammer. When we get to adjusting this bed, we are going to be very vigilant about how we tap this thing into place. You don't want to be beating on it, okay? So those are the tools we're going to need. Let's get into seeing how flat and parallel your bed is. Okay, so the first thing that I've done, I've just turned the machine on. I've raised the honeycomb bed up quite a ways. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take this 1/4 inch Baltic birch and I'm going to slide it under my, my nose cone. And this is going to be in the far upper left-hand corner of the machine. And you'll notice right now I've got a couple of millimeters worth of space here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just loosen this gold knob and I'm going to set the nose cone of the laser right down on top of that Baltic birch. And then I'm going to go ahead and tighten it up. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to just go ahead and slide out the piece of Baltic birch. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and move the gantry, or excuse me, the laser head over to the top right. Okay, going to do the same thing. I'm going to slide this over here and I'm going to slide it under, and you can see that it's the same. It's just touching that piece of Baltic birch. So we know the top left and top right are parallel. And so let's go to the bottom right now. I'm going to go ahead and move this out of the way and come down. all the way here. And then what we'll do is we'll go ahead and we'll slide that piece of Baltic birch underneath this corner. And you can see that it's nice and snug, just exactly the way we want it. Okay, then I'm going to go ahead and drive my laser head over to the lower left-hand corner. And this is where I saw the issue. So if I slide my piece of Baltic birch under here, you're going to see, oops, sorry. You're going to see that I've got a little bit of a gap. Not a whole bunch. I don't know if you can see it, but some. And so what I need to do is just bump up this lower left-hand corner so they're like the other three. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to take the honeycomb out and do this exact same thing just to make sure it tells me the same story. Okay, I've lowered the honeycomb bed down to about halfway, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pull this honeycomb out. Come here, Lex. Come here, sit. Just so you know, this is Lexi, the shop foreman. Yeah, you're a good dog. Now go lay down. All right, we're going to go. Go on. Go on. Go. And we're going to go ahead and pull this honeycomb bed out. Okay? So I'm just going to lift it up and slide it out. Just like that. Next, we'll go ahead and pull the slat bed back up and do the same test that we did with the honeycomb on it. Okay, sure enough, I did the same test with all four corners with just the slats on the bed now, and pretty much got the same story. I'll put up a closer picture of what you're seeing here, but it's roughly it's right at the same distance as it was with the honeycomb on it. So what that tells me is the actual bed is a little bit low in this bottom left-hand corner. So we're going to go ahead and adjust that. So I've confirmed that that's the deal. That the bed is just a little bit lower in the lower left-hand corner, front left-hand corner. And next, we're going to go ahead. I'll show you where these bolts are that you need to loosen up, and then we'll go ahead and tap it into place. I will tell you that this is something that's takes a little finesse. And what I mean by that is when you loosen these bolts up, you're not loosening them up completely, meaning that they're sloppy. If you loosen these bolts up, it'll change your bed parallelness a bunch. So you just want to loosen them slightly so you can adjust them under pressure. You don't want to loosen them up a bunch or you're going to have a mess on your hands. It's going to take you a lot longer to do this process. So just loosen, in this case, I'm going to loosen these bolts up on this lower front corner slightly, probably about a half a turn at the most. And then I'm going to take that piece of wood that we've been using and I'm going to put it underneath, and I'm going to take that rubber mallet and just tap it into place until this piece of wood touches that nose cone. And that's all it's going to take. So next I'll show you where these bolts are. So in order to adjust this front left-hand corner, you'll notice that there's bolts all along this edge. They're on the front and the back. Now we're not going to do anything with the back because that rack is independent from the front rack. And so what we're going to want to do is I'm going to probably loosen up this bolt and then hardly loosen up the rest of these, just a little bit. What I'm going to do is loosen these more than I loosen these because I don't want to change this alignment. I'll check it to make sure, but what I'm doing is loosening these bolts up right here. Here, let me turn this around so you can see these bolts better. These are the adjustment bolts, and it's just a rack that holds this, these slats, and the slats hold the honeycomb. So we're going to loosen these up, and then we're going to tap this thing into place. Okay, so I've gotten a 10mm Allen wrench out of the kit that came with your toolbox. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to gradually open this up. And what I may do is I may remove some of these slats, like every other one, just so I have room to work. So let's go ahead and remove some of these slats first. Okay, I've loosened up the bolts that I need to. I've driven my laser head over about where I need to have it. And so what I'm going to do next, I'll go ahead and put this the GoPro on the tripod and show you how this is done. But basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a piece of wood underneath here and tap this rack, this separate rack that you see from the back side, until this piece of wood touches my nose cone. And then what I'll do after I get that done, I'll probably tighten these up just a little bit and drive my laser head around just to verify I haven't changed any of the other elevations. So that's what we're going to do next. Okay, I'm going to just take this piece of hardwood, and there's a lip back here that you'll go ahead and put this piece of wood underneath. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this rubber mallet and I'm going to just tap this. And that's all it took. I just tapped it right into place. Now my laser head is flat. Matter of fact, I'll take a picture of it and post it for you guys on the video so you can see. And really that's all it takes. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and I'll snug these bolts up a little bit. And we'll go around and verify that I haven't changed anything else. And if it all proves to be true, that's how you can adjust your bed of your laser to make sure it's parallel with your gantry. Okay, I've got the bolts all tightened up. I verified my four corners to make sure that they didn't change. They're all the same now. Everything's parallel, and we'll go ahead and put back our honeycomb. I will tell you, be careful when you're putting your honeycomb back. Make sure it's nice and level and it's not warped in any way. What I like about the Thunder lasers is they have the honeycomb pins where you can only put it in one way. It drops right in. The honeycomb doesn't ever move. It's a great system, so let's go ahead and do that now. Just go ahead and set that in there. And then make sure there's two locating pins, one here and one here, and you want to make sure that those drop into the holes that Thunder has provided. And now that's nice and solid. Next thing we'll do is we'll go ahead and put in this, the door, and this little adjustment will be done. Well, that's all there is to it. Something that you want to check, make sure your honeycomb and your slat bed is parallel with your gantry. Once you do that and your mirrors are all aligned, your laser will be running in tip-top shape. I hope this information was helpful. If you do me a favor, give me a like if you can, subscribe if you haven't, and if you have the ability, contribute to the channel by hitting that thanks button. Until next time, have a great day.